Hello and welcome back. I am Mrs. Pietrick and this is the JES Kindergarten channel. And today I am going to be walking you guys through how to do a math talk. So math talks are really great practice because it's not about getting the answer, it's about explaining your thinking and how you got the answer and being able to see multiple perspectives. And that is going to be a really important skill for your student as they progress through the grades. And even in kindergarten, if they can tell us what they're thinking or how they got that answer, we can help better understand either where they're making a mistake to fix it or use them as an example to show other students what they're thinking. So math talks are very easy to do because you don't really need any supplies. So behind me here I have just taped up some pieces of paper so that you guys could see. You could also just do this on a whiteboard. And the first step in a math talk is to present a problem. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the exact same dot pattern just drawn up there with a marker. And the problem that I am going to present is what is the total number of dots? Now, if you have your student with you, I would encourage you to pause the video. I will scoot it in so they can see the dots and actually give them that problem. So I'm going to see if I can scoot it in so that you can see, and we want to know what is the total number of dots inside one square. So go ahead and pause. All right, so hopefully you paused and your student was able to give you an answer. Now, here is the fun part. After you present the problem, you give them time to solve it on their own, so you just wait. A good rule of thumb for wait time is between 30 seconds and 2 minutes, which as an adult can seem like an eternity, but just wait. Don't ask them questions. Encourage them to keep, working at it if they're getting a little frustrated, and just give them some time. It kind of reminds me of when my children were toddlers and they would go running for something and they would trip, and if I instantly went and picked them up, they would start crying. But if I just waited, about 8 times out of 10 they would stand up and dust themselves off and keep going. So just giving them that wait time to decide, am I really hurt? Do I need mom? So it's kind of the same concept with math. Just give them a little time to work it out. And then the fun part is you have if I was in a classroom, I would have different students solve it, and I would just show you what that might look like and what I might write. So you could have them give you their answer. You could challenge them to see if they could do it a different way. You could show them the way that you thought. Maybe if you have somebody else in the home, a sibling or a spouse or a grandparent or just a friend, you could ask them their ideas too. So I might say, how many number of dots? And hopefully we know the answer is 10. We just kind of write it on there, we get it out of the way. But then I'm going to say, how did you figure that out? I want to know what they did or what they saw. And the first time that I did this, I saw a dot cube 5 and a dot cube 5, or a die. And so I might say, I saw 2 dot cubes with 5, and I know that 5 and 5 is 10. So I could write that with numbers. 5 plus 5 equals 10. Okay, and then I'm going to get a different color to show somebody else's ideas. And somebody else might have noticed, well, I saw 2, 2, 2, 2, and then I had 2 left over. So they might say, I counted by 2s, 2, 4, 6, 8. And I had 2 left over, and I know that 8 plus 2 is 10. Okay, now I'm not entirely sure if a kindergarten student might pick out that specific pattern, but when I have done this together in trainings and different people, that is something that I've seen, and that's something that we try to teach them and cultivate in school, is to choose what you know. So if you know how to count by 2s really well, you might have picked that out right away. We talked about doubles when we were learning addition and subtraction. So all of the double facts. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. 3 plus 3 is 6. They learned all of the doubles. So that might really be something that they would pick up on. We have taught them to count by twos, and we have been working on combinations to 10. So they're really working on knowing that 2 and 8 is 10, and 1 and 9 is 10, and 5 and 5 is 10. Just those combinations, and especially moving into first grade is going to focus on that a lot. So I might get another color and say, what did you see? And they might have noticed that there was a 4 in the middle that looked like a square. They might have noticed that there was a triangle and a triangle, and then they might have said that they know the double. 3 and 3 is 6, plus 4 is 10. Okay, now this is a pretty complex one, and I put this one up because I knew I was going to be showing it to adults, but to start out, you might just put the 5 up and challenge them to explain their thinking, to use words. Oh, I counted by ones, and so that might look a lot of different ways. I might say, okay, you went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and they might say, yeah, that's what I did it. Or I would also challenge you to have them, maybe give them the marker and show you, because they might have started here and they might have gone up backwards, or they could have picked out shapes. They might have picked out what they noticed on the dot cube, and they're really drawing on, what do I know? I know my doubles, or I know my combinations to 10, or I know how to touch and count. That's a skill that we've talked about in kindergarten. They might know how to skip count. That might have been a strategy that they use. So really the idea isn't to get the number of dots, because hopefully everybody could get that by getting to 10. And again, it depends on your students' levels, and starting at 5 might be better, or starting at a number that was maybe even, like 6. And so the idea is to be talking about what they saw, for you to be showing them while they're talking, okay, so you're saying that you did this, and kind of helping them get practice in not only saying that, but also seeing it spelled out both in the picture format and also with the number. So this is not something that I would expect you to try, to just jump right in to try it. I have been teaching kindergarten for 5 years and think I have only managed to do it a handful of times, just because of time and resources and focuses. But since we are at home, and since we have a little bit more of, we have the blessing of time right now a little bit more, this might be something that you are feeling empowered to try. And I would encourage you to do that, because there's really not a way to mess it up. You present them with a problem, you ask them to solve it, and you ask them to explain their thinking, and you just attempt to kind of map out what they say. And you don't have to do it with the writing. You could just do it on the dot board, ask them how they did it, repeat it back to them. Oh, so you counted by ones and you went from left to right, and have them acknowledge, yes, that was correct, or no, and they can show you. And then you could just share your thinking. Oh, when I first looked at this, I noticed that they were in rows of 2. So I just said 2, 4, 6, 8. And it could be as simple as that, just a conversation about math, and getting them comfortable with, it's not always about the answer. So sometimes you can just write that right away quick, so that they don't have to worry or stress, did I get it right, or did I get it wrong? Or it kind of takes the pressure off. Yes, we know the answer is 10, but now we want to know different ways of doing it. And this is a powerful exercise, not only for kindergartners, because they might only truly know one way to get it, and when they see that there's another way to do it, it's like, mind's blown, right? But it's also powerful for adults to see how creative our kids are, and to see how much they really know and absorbed. I know even sometimes when I say, show me 5 on your fingers, and I have one student who's showing me like this, and somebody will look at them and kind of, get really sad. And I say, what were you going to say? And they will say, well, I was going to show this. And so then we have the opportunity to have kind of a mini math talk, that we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did you show me 5? Yes. Now let's look at your friend that did this. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did they show me 5? Yes, and so they are kind of like, oh, I am right. And so it kind of takes the pressure and the competitiveness off of it, And you can just be able to see there's more than one way to make a number. I might say, is this a good way to show me 5? And some think no, and some think yes, and then we talk about it and we say, well, I'm not showing any on this hand, but am I showing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? And that's always just a valuable experience to have, understanding that it's not about right and wrong, but there's more than one way to do things. And I know that especially as math changes and progresses, and I hear from a lot of parents that they are feeling frustrated and struggling because they don't understand what it is. But sometimes just seeing things from a different perspective could be really helpful. And so I would encourage you to try one of these with them, something simple, just with your whiteboard that you got in your kit and a dry erase marker, and putting any sort of arrangement together and saying how many dots, and they'll instantly say 6, and you'll say, how do you know? And they might say, oh, I see, 2, 4, 6. They might recognize that this is the pattern that it looks like on a dice. They might tell you that they counted by ones, and you might vary it up. I've seen math talks done with a number in a 10 frame. So a 10 frame is a rectangle that has 10 boxes, and it might just have, and so you might ask them, how many numbers, and say that some of them will tell you different things. I know that there's 10 boxes and 7 were empty. That's not the way that I would have done it first, but it's really, really interesting to see different ways to do it. And like I said, this can help us diagnose if they're making a mistake. Usually it's easier to see once they are telling you how they got that, or for you to see how really creative they are and how many different things are working. So that is it for our math talk today. I know I did choose a rather difficult one, but I would love if you would tell me in the comments if your student found a different way to do it when you pause the video and ask them. I would love to hear some of their thoughts. If you have any ideas for different math videos or concepts that you would like to see explained, or fun activities that we could do. And I would love to hear if you tried this concept, not necessarily this specific problem, but if you tried just having a math talk at home and how it went. If you were completely frustrated and hated it, if you thought it went smooth and awesome and you loved it. I would love to hear how your student fared, if they thought it was really interesting, or if they were looking at you like, okay, Mom, you've lost your mind, or, Dad. So I would just love to hear those ideas down in the comments. And don't forget to hit that bell to subscribe. I know I have a up-and-coming YouTube star as a middle schooler, and he was like, Mom, you got to tell him to hit the bell. So that's what all the cool kids are saying these days. So hit that bell to subscribe, and we will see you again on the JES Kinder channel. Thanks.